Hey everybody, welcome to Crackpot, the podcast where each and every week we dive into a different conspiracy theory and we discuss the merits or the demerits of each. We're your hosts. I'm Tim.
And I'm Zach.
Zach.
Tim, welcome back, buddy.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, another episode, another show. Couldn't be more excited to jump right in.
Each and every week.
It
seems like we do this.
It seems like it, doesn't it? Funny.
Or we wait like 7 weeks and we scramble at the last minute and do 7 more or something thereabouts. Right. But that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
You're right, and sorry to cut you off, though. And I wanted to say, this particular show, are we talking, is this a heavy conspiracy theory?
Thank you for asking.
Theory?
Okay, so this one, obviously we always try to keep the language PG. The topic and the subject matter of this are a bit more serious, a bit more adult than others. And we will do our best to make sure that it's not horrible, but we're talking about some real stuff here without giving much away. And I'm kind of doing that intentionally because... Zach, how much do you know about this?
A little tiny bit.
A little tiny bit. But
I've at all, but yeah.
Very intentionally tried to ask you to not look into it because it is weird. Mm-hmm. So this is obviously called Lake City Quiet Pills. If you have no idea what that means, perfect. Don't go any further. We will get there. If you do know what it means, that's fine too. Because it is so odd and so fascinating. I love a good mystery. Okay. I just love a good mystery. And I love a good mystery that's also like an internet mystery.
Yes. A la Cicada 3301, right?
Like Cicada 3301, like just weird things on the internet.
I'm with you there.
I don't know if it's just my generation, the fact that I can kind of relate to it or whatever it might be. You know, it's not in a faraway land with people and so on and so forth. So it's bizarre. Yeah, it's just bizarre. I've said that too many times. Let's kind of dive into it. But again, might not be for the smallest ears in the audience.
Fair enough.
Okay. Lake City Quiet Pills. Any idea what that means?
It is such a cool name. It's a very compelling start to this whole thing.
I know. And you're not going to figure out what that means for a while. So just buckle up. But we'll get there, I promise.
Okay.
It all starts on Reddit.
Classic.
And you know a little bit about Reddit?
It is the front page of the internet, so to speak, right?
It is the front page of the internet. That's how they advertise it. Yeah. Basically, I want to assume that everyone's been there. I know that everyone hasn't, but just kind of real quickly, like you can create a username. You're completely anonymous, and people post pictures or GIFs or articles, and they post it to different subreddits. And a subreddit is like a different chat room, I guess. For real basic, I know how old I'm sounding when I say chat room, but like, you know.
It's like me explaining the internet to my grandma. Nothing against my grandma, but you know, like
it's like a giant truck and a series of tubes, okay? But,
it's an internet forum.
It's an internet forum. But I mean, with subreddits, you have stuff like, just funny, or you have the NHL or the NFL, or you have the Green Bay Packers, or I bet there's probably an Aaron Rodgers subreddit. And you can subscribe to specific ones to kind of curate what you want your Reddit experience to look like.
Yeah, that's right.
And throughout all this, you can post pictures and you can comment off of other people's comments, et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea. So not every subreddit is wholesome. It's the internet after all.
No, but I will say, of all the possible forums on the internet and the fact that it totally is and or can be the Wild West to the nth degree,
yes,
like Reddit's actually pretty well moderated.
It is for the most part. It truly is. Yeah. I mean, there's some definite unsavory stuff, and there's some that have had been taken down and so on and so forth. But look, you know, it's human nature, but you're right, it is fairly well regulated. But we're going to talk about real briefly here at the beginning, one of the definite unsavory ones. It was called r/, and that's just, subreddit. So r/jailbait. Okay. And if you're not familiar with that term, basically, broadly speaking, someone who is jailbait is someone who is underage and attractive, and potentially if you were to engage in intercourse with them, you would be guilty of a crime and you would go to jail, therefore jail bait. Probably said too much on that, but you get the idea. So this subreddit was dedicated to posting pictures of underage girls. Now, that said, they were not pornographic, so it was not illegal.
I still hate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's unsavory. It's not good. There's no two ways to say that. But the point is, it existed. And it existed until, like, Anderson Cooper on CNN did a expose on this and a couple of other awful subreddits that it got shut down.
Okay.
So, whatever. It existed, then it didn't exist. But when it did exist, there were several moderators of this subreddit. One of them was Violent Acres, which we don't need to go into now, but he was very famous, Reddit internet famous, but also there's some other stuff that bled into the real world. He was one. The other one was a user that went by the name of Religion of Peace. Okay?
Sounds good. Sounds wholesome.
Yeah, not exactly. But anyway, who is Religion of Peace? Well, this person, based on their comment history, because it's all, saved, it's the internet, nothing actually goes away. We know that he created his account in December of 2007. We know that he posted all hours of the day and night, okay? And again, this is anonymous, so we don't actually know, but, trying to piece together who this person is. He would go on screeds about, the liberal media and socialism, but he was also pro-marijuana, so there was that. He seemed to have an extensive knowledge of military subjects.
It's always weird.
Yeah. Weapons and troop movements and stuff like that. He just seemed to know what he was talking about. He had a history of talking about violence. He claimed to have been born in or around 1930, which at the time would have put him in his late 70s.
Okay.
Right. Not the person you were probably thinking of.
Correct. I was thinking of someone, probably a white male, between the ages of, 17 and like 24-ish, something like that, who just had a passion for some off-brand weird knowledge, right?
Anyway, right. He claimed he enlisted in the military at the age of 14. Because he was larger for his age, he was able to get in. He was at the Battle of Normandy. He saw combat in Jerusalem in 1947. He said he was in the Navy until 1987, and since then had been working on computers. He works in computers.
Yeah, you were in Normandy.
Yeah.
And then now you're working on computers.
Well, I mean,
it's not that it's impossible.
It's not that it's impossible. It's not impossible.
Okay.
You find if he was in intelligence, he was probably trained in computers in the military. So it's not that far of a stretch. But I like where your skeptical head's at here.
I'm going to take, and just for full disclosure here, I'm going to take the skeptical side to this one.
That's what we pay you to do. So that's good.
Oh, all right.
Good. All
right, fair enough.
He said, and he would write out. So he was, again, a moderator of this uncouth website or subreddit, but he would. So the images are not hosted on Reddit. They are hosted on a separate website. And he ran an image hosting website. And the name of the image hosting website was called LakeCityQuietPills.com.
Okay.
This website no longer exists. It is in the Wayback Machine, but most of it's gone. And the name of so that was the URL.
Sure.
But the name of the website was, quote, "This Old Guy's Image Host." So he'd be like, hey, check out my website. Go to my website if you want more of this or whatever it might be, okay?
Sure.
And without going into detail, the website was a pornographic website, and it catered to this sort of stuff. One of his last posts, he said, and I'm quoting here, "I can think of any number of criminal organizations that would benefit from a dose of Lake City Quiet Pills."
Just peculiar.
Just going to leave it at that for right now.
Okay. So you've got to... Okay. Well, keep going.
Okay. His very last post was on July 17th, 2009. 13 hours after his last post, someone created a new username and logged in to Reddit under the name of 2-6. That's the number 2-6. 26. We're just going to call him 26. Who, what, why, how is 26? And trust me, this is all going to play into the broader conspiracy. Okay. Well, he logged in 26 and he said, and I'm going to read this. I'm just going to read it because it's worth it. The end of Religion of Peace. He died today. I'm the person who provided Religion of Peace the space for that old guy's image host. Milo died today. He was 79 years old. He died at his desk looking at your site. Milo was a mean old blank. Mean and ornery. He hooked me up with my first gig when I got out of the army. I didn't like finding him like that. Milo don't have any living relatives and no real friends, and other than his landlady and a few people where he worked, he didn't talk to anyone about much of anything. Me, he just tolerated. As I said, he was mean. I think he used that as a shield to keep people away from him. Milo thought God was some kind of con game thought up by some lazy sons of you-know-what. Who didn't want to work every day. So he's going in the fire on Monday without a service just like he wanted. I'm planning to dump his ashes in the woods in Pennsylvania near where he was born. Can't put him right there because there's a mall there now. I gave the girl next door his raggedy old cat and most of his books, his computers and electronic stuff. He tagged for the disabled vets in the VA. All the rest of the stuff is for the Salvation Army. All those years and everything he owned fits in the trunk of my car. I don't know what else to say. I'll miss him. Miserable B word. What's interesting, there's a lot of interesting stuff about this. There's a lot of misspellings, and it's consistent misspellings. Like tolerated is spelled like T-A-L-L, rated. Any contraction with NT, this user puts the apostrophe, it's like D-I-D apostrophe N-T. And it's consistent like that. Ornery is spelled wrong. And it's fascinating just to note that this is a very specific language type or written type. It looks like a different person from anyone else.
Sure. Okay.
It's also worth noting, and I didn't really go into this at the outset, but this Religion of Peace, now identified as Milo, was Reddit famous. Like when he would post something, whether it was on this subreddit or anywhere else, like people took note of it, people would comment on it and get a lot of upvotes or likes or whatever, and it would rise to the top. So he was fairly well known. So when he died, like people on Reddit like made note of it, and it's like, who was this guy? Like this guy was weird. What's a 70-something-year-old dude hanging out on the internet, right? It's just not what you would expect. So someone posted back and they said, basically like, this is a hoax. And 26 responded, you're an ass. Milo is a friend, and I was planning on taking him to dinner on Friday, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so I'm
sorry, I'm a little confused. Yeah. So they're saying he's still alive or what?
No, well, they're like, the whole thing is weird. This is a hoax. Maybe your Religion of Peace, and you're like doing this as a way to get more internet points or something like that. It just seemed bizarre.
They're looking for, or they're alleging somebody's trying to do something to be notorious here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
They're like, I don't know. This just seems bizarre. And he says, no, he's not. Screw you.
Sure.
He's real. I'm real. Forget about you. 2 days later, 26 posts again. And he says, basically surprised that so many people reached out to him and like actually liked him and, just found this old guy so fascinating. And anyway, he's done. No more. I'm out. I don't really care about this stuff. 2 days after that, so this is July 21st, 26 posts again. If you're interested, this is where Milo is now. And he posts a map link that's in Pennsylvania, basically like south of Gettysburg, and sure enough, there's a little strip mall there and some woods on the side, and it's like, okay, well, this is where I spread his ashes, if you care. I don't know why, but yeah, there it is. And that was it for a while. And Redditors are weird people. They have a history like trying to solve crimes and weird stuff, and they're not always good at it. If you look back at the Boston Marathon bombings, they infamously and horribly inaccurately tagged some people and harassed them, and bad stuff came out of it that were not at all related to it. So anyway, there's this history. But anyway, they wanted to know more. They're like, this is weird. This is interesting. Like, who was this guy? Who's this other guy? What's going on? And they started looking into this 2-6 character, and someone found some posts on FARC. Have you ever heard of FARC?
No, I haven't.
No? Okay. So FARC, I used to be super active on FARC. It's such a stupid name to say out loud. FARK.com. But basically, it's a news aggregating site, but it's all user populated. So what you do is you find a news article and you submit the link, and then you make up your own headline. And if the moderators like it, they'll post it on the main page.
Okay.
So, and I actually had 7 in my time on FARC. I can't believe I'm bragging about this, but I had like 7 articles that I actually got green lighted.
I think you actually shared that with me.
And you're like, I don't care. Why are you telling me?
Yes, that's exactly.
But like, you have to be super fast, and you have to be kind of witty.
Sure.
To either funny or worded, good wordplay or whatever it might be. And, it kind of rises to the top and et cetera. And then people post on it. So people post underneath these articles and talk about them or whatever the case might be. One of the users that they found back as far as October 11th, 2001 was a user that went by the name of Angel26. Now, this is all spelled out, TWO-SIX, Angel26. But the email associated with Angel26 was angel.2.6@lakecityquietpills.com.
There we go.
So, okay.
The connection.
There's a connection. So this person is more likely than not that person.
Sure.
Let's see what else we can learn about this, because who was that weird guy and what the heck is happening? Okay. So they found that he posted a lot about military stuff. He posted a lot about weapons. And he also had this little tag underneath all of his posts, like your little motto or whatever. And it said, dispensing Lake City quiet pills to lousy bastards in need of permanent rest since 1968.
Very odd. Very odd.
Let's take a moment. Do you even want to guess? Do you even want to hypothesize what a Lake City quiet pill is?
Well, it sounds to me like it's some sort of pill to kill somebody.
Okay.
I mean, that's what it just sounds like.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah, lousy bastards in need of permanent rest.
Right.
Permanent
rest being death.
Exactly. What is also interesting about this FARC account is that there's the same consistent spelling mistakes, grammatical errors throughout all of their posts.
I see.
Like these weird off spellings. It's almost like phonetic and just the contraction in the wrong place as far back as 2001. So we're talking like 8 years before they created this Reddit account and posted about Milo dying. Okay. Why, what, how? And it goes back to this LakeCityQuietPills.com, which is this image hosting site of not good repute, I guess, to put lightly. Is it a hoax to drive more traffic? Like, because people on Reddit got all riled up and they did this digging. It's like, oh, okay, now let's all start going to this website and maybe they'll get ad revenue. Seems like a very long con. A long ruse for an unlikely outcome?
Well, there's no clear benefit.
I guess more clicks, which means
right?
more ads.
Yeah, more notoriety. Maybe that's it.
I guess.
Yeah.
So more likely than not, this is starting to sound real, right? Like, there was probably a guy named Milo who was probably very old, who probably died, and this other guy named Angel26 or 26, who was also a real person, and they're probably real. I guess what I'm getting at is nothing sounds hoaxy yet, right?
Well, to me, so I guess I was thinking that they could also be the same person.
Okay.
I mean, really, because you have the Angel26, right? That is also at Lake City Quiet Pills, who also happens to be friends with Milo. Is that correct?
Right.
And so to me, it sounds like it's one and the same person.
It could be. It could be. Yeah. But to play advocate here, the interesting thing is like that consistent grammatical things. Like why do you create a different persona? I mean, generally, if you want to create like a fake account, you just create a fake account and you're done with it. Sure. But as far back as 8 years before this, you have this weird spelling, these weird grammar things, and so on. Then you have this different account where you're spelling normal and writing normal or correctly, I guess. And so to your point, yes, it could be the same person. I'm not saying definitively one way or the other, but it would be a very odd con to create these two accounts so far apart and then kill one and then have another one. For like what reason?
Well, to me, it's anonymity.
Yep.
And then also it's to some degree, and it kind of seems weird to speak out of the other side of my mouth here, it's like for notoriety. So it's like, it's almost as if a band that starts another band as a, offshoot or side project and that becomes more famous or whatever. Like these types of things have been done before.
Sure. So. Like Wings and the Beatles, right?
Ew, that's funny. Okay.
I don't know. Okay. Nevertheless, when these Reddit sleuths figured this out, they were like, whoa, okay, we're onto something. We don't know exactly what we're onto, but like, it's getting more interesting. Let's keep digging.
It's an internet mystery.
Tried
and true.
Keep digging. So where do you go from there? You go to lakecityquietpills.com.
Sure.
And you start trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Well, on the surface, it's just an image hosting site. Not a whole lot to figure out from there. But underneath, there's the code, the HTML code within the site that holds up the site, the building blocks, I guess, whatever. And the first thing they did, because, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen, this stuff, this behind the scenes stuff on a website. It's just a string of letters and digits, and it's code.
It's the code.
Unless you can read code, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And even when you can read code, like, who cares?
Sure. Yeah.
Hidden in the code, the first thing they found was this motto: dispensing Lake City quiet pills to lousy bastards in need of permanent rest since 1968. Okay, it's like interesting. And they kept looking through this code, and they found some more stuff hidden in the code in plain English. Shade is maintaining the calendar and access to the file dump. Angel has the job postings for EU and Asia. We aren't sending anyone to ME. No one. Don't ask for listings. Okay, first of all, EU.
Europe.
Asia.
Yep.
ME.
Middle East.
Right. Job postings for Asia, Europe. We're not sending anyone to the Middle East. It doesn't take a lot to kind of crack that code, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
Beneath that, there are a number of posts, and I'm not going to read them all. I'm going to read a couple to give you the flavor. Quote, immediate need, 8 to 10 Chinese Korean. Fluent Korean dialect accent, details after contact, 12-week half-pay sequester on refusal. 2 ground types, fluent Farsi, Arabic, French, no papers, no problem. Need formed group, 810, single op, delivery bonus, gentleman's agreement, insurance, immediate need. What does that sound like?
It sounds like Q gibberish to me, but it's weird because they kind of contradict themselves. So it sounds like, first of all, let's just begin by saying they're trying to round people up who are fluent in different languages, right? We heard Korean, Chinese, Arabic,
Farsi, French.
Yep. And so therefore, to me, it sounds like or suggests they're maybe running up troops to go to these places.
No papers, no problems.
Yeah, like a covert operation?
Sure. Under some of those, there are references to CCW or W/W. Now, it is debatable what these mean, but Reddit consensus, internet consensus, CCW, concealed carry weapons permit, WW could either be wants or warrants, like no WW.
Sure.
Or wet work.
What's that?
According to Merriam's Webster Dictionary, murder for hire or assassination.
Got it. As soon as I said that, I was like, I know what this means now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the idea is that this image hosting site is a cover for recruiting
murder for hire,
mercenaries, assassins, ex-military contractors who want to make a little bit of extra money.
Huh.
What do you think?
Ooh, I don't like it. So just taking all of this on its face, here's what I'd say. In the age of the internet, unless you do something super duper, like next level code and are really hiding meaning throughout all of this stuff, like it's probably the only way to get away with this stuff because everything's traceable and all that stuff. Now, all that being said, Redditors did figure this stuff out.
Sure.
But on the other hand, it's like, I guess I could maybe see this being real.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean,
things line up. There's a storyline, clearly.
There's a storyline, and it's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
But Zach,
yes.
We still haven't figured out what Lake City Quiet Pills means, right?
Well, true. Literally, we have not figured that out. But I guess, can I just take a stab real quick? I mean, Lake City would imply a very specific place. Mm-hmm. Quiet Pills being, a murder, right? So therefore, this is the murder for hire organizational name.
The single largest producer of small arms ammunition for the United States Armed Forces is operating out of Independence, Missouri since 1941. The plant is called Lake City Ammunition Plant, also known as the Lake City Arsenal.
Sure.
Okay. Lake City, ammo plant, Quiet Pills.
Yeah.
Cylindrical, round
bullets. Right.
Dispensing Lake City Quiet Pills to lousy bastards in need of permanent rest since 1968. Murder for hire. Mm-hmm. International murder for hire.
Right.
What do you think so far?
Oh,
Does this seem like a couple of bored internet people made up a giant hoax to hide some sort of weird thing for some sort of unknown reason? Or does it seem like a couple of Redditors stumbled across a website that is recruiting people to go commit international assassinations?
I don't know where to start.
Pick a place.
Okay. So let's just say this is a hoax. Mm-hmm. Everything you just described can be, reverse engineered to create something to align with what they want people to think is a covert murder for hire operation, right? Like, let's have fun. Let's create some sort of mystery on the internet.
Yeah,
absolutely. You and I could figure something out just like that, right? The point is, it can be done. And yes, I understand, and I don't want to put words in your mouth yet, but obviously there are a lot of consistencies over a period of time in which somebody would really have to be playing the long game to do this. But I think my point is, there are people that do that.
Are there, though? For what purpose?
Think about all the horrific, terroristic acts, and you say the same thing. Think about all the, dark web stuff going on. There are people that actually do this kind of stuff. So I think...
Sure. But, yes. Would they do it if they weren't actually doing it? Are you saying this is definitely not a hoax, then?
So I'm sorry. Let me clarify my point.
Yeah.
My point is, I believe that this absolutely could be a hoax for the sake of being a hoax.
Okay.
I'm also saying that if we're going to say it's not a hoax, that I have a harder time believing it's not a hoax because, how do I put it without sounding like a crazy person? If you want to hire somebody to off another human being, what are the odds you're going to go in and try to figure out all this code and secret weird stuff? You're probably going to have connection to the mob or somebody who knows somebody. You know what I'm saying?
No, this I like what you're saying, but to be clear, this website is not where you go to ask someone to do it. Sure. This is a website where, in theory, where people who do this for a living can go to, it's a job posting website.
Sure.
It's like monster.com, but for assassins.
It's basically monster.com.
It is
for monsters.
Monsters.com.
Yeah.
Right.
So all right. Then, so that would make more sense, because I assume if you're an assassin, you probably have some level of savvy when it comes to this kind of stuff. How else would you get notified about jobs?
Yeah.
I don't know.
2 ground types: fluent Farsi, Arabic, French. No papers, no problems. It's like, what? What was that? Immediate need: 8 to 10 Chinese, Korean fluent. 12-week half-pay sequester on refusal. It's back on Reddit 2 months after Milo died. This is September 30th, 2009. User 26 posts, "For those of you who have asked, I bricked Milo's iron key the same day. All is well."
What is that?
Iron key, I mean, that's a very real thing.
Okay.
An iron key is basically a secure hard drive, something like that. Bricking means destroyed it.
Sure.
Like if you brick your phone, it's worth a brick because it doesn't do anything. So he's saying, look, basically, to read between the lines, Milo had a lot of information. If you're worried about that, don't worry about it. I bricked it. We're good. Now, why he would post that on Reddit, not the other place, I don't know.
Sure.
But let's keep going. On November 14th, 2009, now this is on Lake City Quiet Pills, okay? He says, Milo's will cleared probate. Surprise, Milo was loaded. Email Shade if we sent you out in 2005 to 2009. Shade will have checks cut for you. Amount is by how many times, not by pay total. Small share is 3 to 4K. Interesting. Okay.
So people need to get paid. For
people, he left everyone money.
Yeah.
The money, according to the will, is not based on anything else other than how many times we sent you out.
Sure.
Okay. Early January 2010, he posts again. And this is the key. This is where it really starts to get interesting, so pay attention. He says, Happy New Year, everyone. We're having a birthday party for the old man on the 19th. Party starts at 1500 at the usual. Send your RSVP to Shade. FYI, we're booking a room for 3 days for anyone coming from out of area and overnight for locals. Come hoist one for Dutch Milo. Seems pretty innocuous.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yep.
We're having a party for the old guy. Come on in. We'll put you up. We'll have a good time. We'll talk and reminisce and so on. Like, honestly, like even with the probate stuff and even if you believe the other stuff is actually murder for hire and assassination, this seems like a very innocuous, like, he didn't have a funeral. We're getting together and having a wake.
So totally. Yes. Just a party invitation. That's what it sounds like.
That's it.
Yeah.
Pause on that. Put that aside. We're going to the other side of the world now. We're going to the Middle East, and we're going to be talking about a guy by the name of Mahmoud al-Mabhouh. Okay? He was born in a refugee camp, and he ended up joining the Muslim Brotherhood in the late 70s. He was jailed a couple times in the late 80s, I think in Egypt. He got out. He joined Hamas. If you don't know Hamas, an organization that petitions for the creation of the Palestinian state, more or less. And we can debate all day long whether or not they're a terrorist organization, and that's not part of this podcast. But that is who he was. That is what he was doing. Now, Mahmoud, he took credit for the killing of 2 Israeli soldiers in 1989, thereby making him one of the most wanted men in all of Israel, or at least by the Israeli government. In the mid-2000s, he rose to the ranks, and he was chief logistics and weapons procurement for Hamas's military wing, and he allegedly, or I guess worked with Iran's Revolutionary Guard as well. Again, not a way to make friends or be on Israel's good side. Mm-hmm. Okay. 2 assassination attempts were taken out on him that we know of, that he knew of, I guess. One was a car bomb, obviously failed. The other one was poison. It made him very sick. He didn't even realize it was an assassination attempt at the time, and I guess we kind of found this out after the fact. But because of the assassination attempts on his life and because of who he was and who wanted him dead, he would travel throughout the Middle East using any number of fake names, fake passports. He had a huge security detail. That's just the way he lived his life.
Okay.
Unbeknownst to him, somehow, somewhere, someone got a Trojan horse virus onto his laptop. They were able to figure out his travel itinerary, and they figured out that he was going to be traveling to Dubai in January of 2010. Without security for 24 hours.
Sure.
So he was going, just traveling as a regular dude, not attracting a lot of attention, getting to Dubai, and then the security detail would show up after the fact, and then he would conduct his business with his armed guards, essentially, right?
Sure.
So he arrived in Dubai on January 19th, 2010, alone, under a fake name. But earlier that day, we think at least somewhere between 18 and 24 people also arrived in Dubai, traveling from different countries on different flights with different countries of origin. And they started arriving in the country and scoping out hotels, scoping out restaurants. They even booked rooms at 3 different hotels because they didn't know where Mahmoud would be staying. And from the moment Mahmoud landed, he was followed by anywhere from 3 to 5 men or women. And they would basically switch off, like trailing him.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yep.
So 3 would be following him. 1 would duck into the bathroom, put on a wig. 2 more would take their place.
Sure.
And they just followed him around the city like this. And it's absolutely, it's something like straight out of a John Le Carré novel. Like it is straight up espionage, like super deep, crazy stuff.
Okay.
Wigs, clothing, prosthetics, you name it. They tracked this guy. He had no idea. No idea. So he picked a hotel where they actually had a room. So they were able to get in, and a couple of them followed him up the elevator to the room. He booked room 230, and this group requested room 237 directly across the hall from room 230. And they slowly, this entire group of people, made their way into the room 237, and they waited, and they waited, and they waited, and eventually Mahmoud left. And when he left, they left room 237, and they broke into his room because it's electronic key fob thing, quickly got in, and then basically security cameras don't show anything. And then Mahmoud returns at 8:30 p.m. He walks in. 20 minutes later, these operatives, 1 at a time, 2 at a time, 3 at a time, they slowly start leaving, trickling out. Within 4 hours, every single one of them is out of the country. Gone. They went to Frankfurt, Bangkok, Zurich, Rome, Paris, Doha, Johannesburg. Absolutely gone. His body wasn't discovered in his hotel room until 12 hours later. It was found by hotel staff. They got in. Basically, his wife was trying to get a hold of him, and you know, they ended up having to break down the door because it was locked from the inside.
Sure.
Deadbolt and the little slidey key thing.
Okay.
I'm sure there's ways to do that, but to me, that's impressive. How do you lock a door from the inside when you're outside?
Right.
But when they get in, because the door is locked from the inside, they see this man who's dead on the ground. No sign of struggle, no gunshot, no bruises, nothing. They're like, well, cause of death, heart attack, aneurysm, whatever it might be, no foul play. And initially, no one really suspects anything because it looks completely natural. And it wasn't until they actually ID'd who this was that alarm bells started ringing and people started digging into it. Basically, what they did is they gave him a fast-acting muscle relaxant, which paralyzed him completely, took a pillow off of the bed and suffocated him, put the pillow back. I would assume that the pinprick for the muscle relaxant was probably like, on a scalp or something where you don't see it right away. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say the perfect crime, but it's like
crazy.
They completely got away with this. Yeah. Basically, the people doing the investigation were the Dubai police force and stuff like that. Eventually, Interpol got involved, and all this information that I listed out about people switching, wigs and glasses and clothes and following around, and you can find this on YouTube. Like, you can find all the security cam footage. What? It is wild.
That's wacky.
It is absolutely wild because what they did is they traced it all back, and then they traced it back to the airport one by one, and then they cross-checked it with the passports. The passports were fake. They go back to the originating site of the where the plane took off, and it's continents. I mean, this is global, worldwide.
So wild.
This assassination of this high-ranking Hamas figure, more or less in plain sight. There's, I guess Interpol to this day still has pictures of 11 of them up. No one has been arrested. No one has been charged. One person I found was arrested in, I want to say, Poland. They didn't even have his real name. Somehow he got out on bail and literally vanished into the night.
Disappeared.
Just disappeared. Completely gone.
Sure.
Now, who did it? Who done it? It's a perfect whodunit mystery, right?
It is.
Well, main suspect, probably Israel, right? Mm-hmm. Mossad probably had the means, probably had the motive.
Sure.
I mean, he was a very wanted criminal. Some of the plane tickets were paid for with cash, which is untraceable. Yep. Some of them were paid for with Payoneer, which is basically like a prepaid credit card.
Oh, I see.
The CEO of Payoneer has allegedly direct ties to the Mossad.
Okay.
So Israeli intelligence, perhaps Israeli citizen, nonetheless. The Dubai police force, they directly accused Israel of assassinating someone on their sovereign soil. Mm-hmm. And Israel said, quote, "They've been watching too many James Bond movies." What's interesting about that, Zach? It's not a denial. Okay, it's not like we didn't do this.
Good point.
It's just like, oh, come on. You've been watching too many James Bond movies.
Right.
So maybe not. What if it was the Lake City Quiet Pills group?
I'm waiting for this, right? This tie-in.
This is the tie-in.
Yeah.
The party for Milo, January 19th, 2020. Meet at the usual place at 1500. His flight landed at 1500 on January 19th in Dubai. Okay?
Okay.
Another post on Lake City Quiet Pills before the party, but after the invitation. We got 38 rooms in the Marriott on 46. Shade has the key cards for locals, pick up at party. Give your travel name to the desk and that's it. No ID needed since we're covering the bill. Keep the room service under 500, okay? The phones are not secure. Bus from the hotel leaves at 13:30. Car service vouchers for return trip when you're ready to crash. Don't DUI. Maybe that seems like just the setup for, the details for the party, right? 500 for room service. Maybe it's a heck of a party. I don't know. Okay. Give your travel names to the desk.
Mm-hmm.
Who has travel names?
Those are aliases, buddy. Oh, I mean, how did I know that? What?
Right. Also, 38 rooms?
Yeah, it's a lot.
For this creepy old guy that runs a questionable subreddit?
Mm-hmm.
What?
With supposedly no friends.
Who was also surprisingly loaded. 38 rooms. Weird, huh?
Very weird.
Okay. February 2nd. 2 weeks later, there's a post that appears on LakeCityQuietPills.com, of course, in the code, that's called Party Bills. Here's the final for the party. Hotel rooms, 48,341. Limo, 6,080. Bus, 569. Bar bill, 18,890. Food, 8,030. Dancers, 8,300. Miscellaneous tips, 850. EXP, 2,840. Medical supplies, 180. Parentheses, Fat Tommy and Stu are okay too. Total, $94,080. You all did Dutch Milo proud. Thanks.
What?
The posts continued more or less like the want ads, right?
Sure.
For a couple more months after that, until the Reddit detectives actually started figuring this out, because they're not figuring this out in real time, of course. And then they start digging in. They start posting about this, trying to crowdsource this, trying to solve it. At that point, Lake City Quiet Pills, their messages go into like a deeper code.
Yeah. Okay.
They crack that, and the website basically goes completely dead.
Sure.
I got to ask you, are the two related? Is Milo's party actually the assassination of a leader of Hamas?
Right. So, well, yeah, I mean, to follow the stories here, you basically have this site, Lake City Quiet Pills, which is directing people to conduct a murder-for-hire operation, of which is this Mahmoud figure, right? A leader within Hamas. And all of this is communicated secretly throughout that website, Lake City Quiet Pills. Fortunately or unfortunately, Redditors figure it out, and then eventually goes dark. Is that to be believed? I have no idea, man. This is so messed up.
It's so weird. It is so weird. Okay, so if you just say it's a bunch of people having fun and they're connecting dots that aren't actually there, it's like, why create these multiple personas? Why hide these weird cryptic messages in this just bad image hosting site? Like, why do that? Like, for what purpose? For lulz?
Yeah,
like, what?
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
Famous and nobody becomes famous. Yeah.
Okay, so if you believe that it's quote unquote real, the next step is to ask, were they the ones that actually assassinated this Hamas leader? And then Reddit actually stumbled on it.
Well, so that to me is where it's interesting, like, because there's a couple of like questions in here. Number one, is this a murder for hire site? Yes or no? That's one thing, right?
I'm going to say yes. Like, it's just weird.
Then another one is, was it specifically related to targeting this Hamas figure? That's another separate question entirely. And then the third one is, well, perhaps maybe it's just all made up, but boy, the coincidences are odd, aren't they? And so I honestly don't even know where to start.
Well, I mean, okay, just start at the beginning. Do you think the whole thing's a hoax made up for fun?
Well,
yes or no?
Okay. I think you can say that you believe it's all made up for fun, and then somehow through universal synchronicities, coincidences, all this stuff just happens to align, right? Looking for patterns where they don't exist. Patterns. And it just happens to align with this the death of this Hamas figure. All that being said, it's a little too conveniently close to what actually happened.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Do I believe it? I don't know, man. I don't know.
Okay, I think personally that they were advertising for something. It could have just been military contractors, right? It could have just been people doing security. Like maybe some of them were like actual murder for hire. Maybe some of them were assassination. But I think it seems like a place where you can just get your Blackwater, sort of thing. It's like this CEO of this company is going into this other country and they need security for a weekend and we need them to speak fluent Korean, for example, right? But I also think that there's some dirty stuff happening. I really do. Do I then take it the next step and connect the assassination of the Hamas leader to this? Maybe. I mean, maybe.
Well, so if you're going to follow the logic that this is indeed a murder for hire site, then it's not a stretch to go that far.
No, it's really not.
In fact, it aligns, right? So,
and I mean, you could say, allegedly, the Israeli government, asked them to post this because they needed 18 to 24 people to take care of this guy.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
Okay, couple quick things. Maybe this will change your opinion, maybe it won't. If you really look into and really parse out Religion of Peace's Reddit posts, he goes back and forth on his age. And I don't mean like 30 to 70, I mean like 79 to maybe 72. Is that just rounding numbers, or is he not able to keep his story straight?
Or multiple people or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If you run his language through this software, age analyzing software, like how old is the person that wrote this? Usually pretty accurate. It actually puts him in the range of 36 to 50.
I'm not surprised.
Now, could he just be like internet savvy enough that it skews down that way?
Right. That's the other point, right? So,
Milo. The name Milo is also an acronym for Military Intelligence Liaison Officer.
Okay, sure.
Which is a UK term, which is interesting because allegedly this guy's based in Pennsylvania, or at least grew up there or something. Military Intelligence Liaison Officer is a person who is trained in intelligence who could be deployed anywhere quickly to assist in planning and preparation, basically. Send them out, get a plan, send in the rest.
Got it.
So maybe that was just his nickname he went by.
A coordinator, right?
Right. 2-6, that Angel 2-6 guy. 2-6 is UK military jargon for, I guess, like heaving something, like on the Navy. It's also slang, like military slang for working together. 2-6. I'm going to use this completely incorrect, but let's 2-6 this problem. Let's work together, right?
Okay.
So even to add another wrinkle into this, if it's not already murky enough, there's someone on Twitter who said, "Hey guys, I figured it out. I broke it open. This isn't what it seems. Religion of Peace, Angel 2-6, they were the same exact person. This was a con. This person's name is actually Trent Katsu, who's a tech writer in New York for the Paste Bin. And he just says it very matter-of-factly, like, I figured it out, and this is it." And then there's no follow-up. There's no, like, anything else to get to the bottom of it.
Sure.
So there's also that possibility. So not to beat a dead horse, Zach, but like a lot to unpack, a lot going on, a lot of weird, crazy stuff. But if you had to pick the most likely scenario, what do you think it would be? You're literally scratching your head right now.
I have no idea. So let's break it down. Okay, what are the odds to begin with? It's just a straight up murder for hire website.
I'd say more likely than not, to be honest.
I come in around 30%.
Okay.
Why? Because I like to believe we live in a world where we don't
where
have...
this sort of thing just doesn't happen. Sure, fine. Okay,
I just want to stick my head in the sand. What are the odds that it's also a murder for hire site that is somehow maybe related to governmental agencies and or people with military backgrounds? Same. 30%. This is not going to be a pie.
No,
it's
not 100% pie. Okay, and then the step further. Do you think this group was responsible for the assassination of a leader in the Middle East? And it was all posted on this image hosting website that was found out by a couple of punks with nothing better to do on Reddit.
Okay. So, again, I go back to the fact that, like, I just don't want to believe this exists in the world.
Okay, get past that. It does exist in the world. We don't normally find this stuff out.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's fascinating about this. So, I mean, none of it's good.
Yeah,
none of it's funny or happy. What's interesting and fascinating is that it's like, wow, for once, like, you and I are kind of able to see what the dark side of humanity is doing more or less out in the open.
Correct. I mean, yeah, I could up to like 50%.
Okay.
I could also, so those are the ones that it's like, yeah, I'm kind of buying into these various conspiracy theories. The flip side of that is all of this was a hoax. The benefit of hindsight allowed them to look at the facts, put together these websites in such a way, and these postings where it aligned with the timing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I could equally believe that. I have to admit it.
I mean, short of them saying, hey, guys, let's go kill a leader of Hamas on Tuesday, you know, there's no way to definitively say one way or the other. But I'm with you. It's not clear, and I don't mean to make light of it. It's not a clear-cut case, but, like, I don't want to say I'm all in, but I think it's much more likely than not that some people accidentally stumbled upon assassination job board.
It's possible. Don't get me wrong. It's very possible. Yeah. So I'm not going to say no. Unlikely, but not no. That sucks.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I hope it lived up to whatever sort of expectations you had going into it, which were hopefully low. I don't know. Anyway, no, seriously, I hope this was fascinating. If you have any insight on this, if you know more about it that I didn't cover, let me know. I am legitimately curious because this is an unsolved internet mystery, and I know you're all out there in the internet world, and I have to imagine that someone somewhere knows something that I don't about this. I'd love to hear it. So if you haven't already, please be sure to rate, review, subscribe. If you want one of these episodes every single week, head on over to patreon.com/Crackpot podcast. Sign up for as little as $3 a month. Also get some bonus shows and other content. But please also be sure to tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your local Reddit detective about our podcast, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.